Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Pop Go the Writers. Yep, the hardest part of doing this show is getting the piano guy to play on time.
Wait a minute. I think we should retitle this show this week Pop Go the Heads of the Writers.
Oh my God, yes. Wow. This is one of those episodes that I hate because we cover the news. I've been hitting the stuff like on social media. I do news break type stuff on TikTok, and the three messages I did this weekend or posts. One was positive, and two were the Jonathan Majors story. I wish they were all like the third one, which was Lawrence Fishburne talking about coming back to the MCU, which we can talk about here too. I forgot about that one.
Oh, baloney! You wish it all could be just about knitting. Like, come on, be honest.
I told Jim before we started that he said I was cutting it close, and I was, but it's because I was watching a new stitch tutorial on YouTube for crochet. It's this cool brick pattern with this kind of seashell thing in the middle, and you use two different yarns. And
At least
and
you
the
have
woman
that.
had a ridge in there by going through a back, and I don't understand why she's going through the back stitch.
If only all these stars and all these people would just, do back stitching and the
Yeah.
world would just be a better. I always say if people would just we'd all just build jigsaw puzzles, the world would be a better place.
I came across a crochet, not a crocheter. I came across a cosplayer and Instagram lady. Somebody who posts a lot of pictures of herself in scantily clad outfits and stuff, but does cosplays, and it's a very attractive woman.
Why would you be looking at that?
Oddly enough, it was on one of the work accounts that she came up.
Okay.
So whoever was doing this job before me, the social media stuff, but so
Okay.
she but cosplayers. I follow cosplayers. I do photography and stuff like that. About I'm watching these posts, and one of them comes up, and she's crocheted herself a dress. And she starts asking, "What should I do here? I've got this open spot. I want to use something to gather it together. Should I do a flat?" And I'm like, "Oh my God!"
You're hitting me where I live, lady.
That's right. Photography, cosplay, crocheting. I think I should get married. Yeah.
Wow. If only she had said something about Jonathan Majors, then you would have just been in heaven.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, all right. Let's. Well, before we get into all that, Jim, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I am just barreling away through a project, something that I've never worked on before. I'm actually writing part of a writing team for a role-playing game. And
very cool.
I've never done it before. It is for a licensed project, and if I play my cards right, I might be done with my part of it in the next 2 days. But I'm just having a blast with it. It's like I want to do more of this stuff. No, it's got nothing to do with the game mechanics. I'm writing descriptions and things, and character bios, and there's the really cool thing is that I get to do a piece of fiction for it. Yeah, so I'm having a real good time with that. Thank you for asking.
I did something like that last year. Somebody posted about come up with ideas for a D&D campaign, and I threw this idea out there as a post. And he's like, "Can you expand on that?" So I did, and then I never heard anything back from the guy. But I really liked the idea, and I ended up writing it into running a campaign with it, because it had something which I love and very few campaigns have, which is a ticking clock. I can't. One of the more recent D&D books, I don't remember the name of it, but it's all water-based, like they're down by a cove or something. Themed one had a ship adventure where you're going on a ship and you're trying to get something off of the ship, but when you get to the bottom, you get to the item, there's a crack in the tax, and you have to get out of the ship in a certain number of things, or you get pulled under. So it's this ticking clock, and I ran that with the group, and they loved it. And instead of the normal everybody sitting back having snacks doing the play, suddenly everybody was on their feet, like over the top.
Do you literally have like a like an egg timer or something there?
Yeah, every
How do you decide what is real time and what is, you know, I have to roll a series of dice here. I mean, do you count that as the real time?
No, but basically it's built into the game how long it should take.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Right. Okay, so, I see. Yeah, I'd rather literally put down an egg timer. Okay, you get this done right now in this time, and that's
what I did was I used a thing on my phone, so the beep would happen.
Yeah.
And so I worked that into this new campaign. Basically, there's a radiation going on, and as it goes by, but I don't tell people this, but they have to do Constitution saving throws, and they get dumber and more aggressive. And so it was a pretty interesting campaign, and it worked really well when we did it. But I want to do it again because I really enjoyed that one.
I'm wondering if I need to explain what an egg timer is to people. Here's me going, put down an egg timer. You know, we have an app for that.
We were doing a giveaway on the Dan Wickline show, and the instructions were to put a certain thing into the comments, and you had to put a hashtag into the comments. And I said, okay, so it's pound. And I said with the term, and everybody's like, pound. I'm like, that's not called a hashtag. I said, it's actually not called the pound sign either. It was originally named the Octothorpe.
Wow.
I said, so if you want to go now, if you want to go old school, let's go back to Octothorpe, because the guy made an 8-sided or an 8-pointed thing, and Jim Thorpe has just won the Olympics. So he called it the Octothorpe.
I think we should have a grassroots campaign to return that name to that.
If not,
hashtag.
If not, I'm going to create a villain named Octothorpe.
I think I like that a lot.
That's a good villain name.
I hope in the coming weeks I'll be able to actually say what the role playing game is for, but they haven't publicly announced it yet. But it's going to be very exciting when it is.
Cool. So, by the way, hello Andrew, good to see you. All right, let's get into the news, and we're going to start with the big one.
Here, let me adopt my tough pose.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we're going to start with the good news one.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Just this afternoon, Jeremy Renner gave an update on his health, and he's been doing that every couple of weeks. But he did one like 2 days ago, where he was talking about the return of his piston bully, the big snow plow that had rolled over on him, and he was all excited to get it back.
Oh, I would think they would take it out and shoot it like a horse,
Yeah, but the comment was he shows this video of it being led back to his house by police escort, and he made a comment about how it reminded him of the Green Mile.
Had they impounded it or as
they evidence? Had taken it because they wanted to inspect it to see if there was any mechanical reasons why it rolled. And they do believe that some mechanical issues may have been involved.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Nobody was trying to harm Jeremy.
Yeah. No,
he wasn't trying to harm himself or anything like that.
Yeah. No. Magneto just made the thing roll over. But then he posted again.
We don't want the X-Men in the MCU. Sorry.
But then Graviton did it.
Like it.
So today he posted an image of himself on a treadmill. Now, this is a low gravity treadmill. It's a device set up to where he's only basically feeling about 40% of his own weight. Mm-hmm. So it's not as strenuous, but he's doing it to build back up. And he was moving pretty good, which was beautiful for me to see because, the tragedy that happened, I don't even know if you want to call it a tragedy, but the accident that happened on New Year's Day, and he was trying to help somebody, and it got rolled over on. You don't want bad things to happen to people, so I am just happy to see that he's still recovering and he's keeping such a great attitude about it.
Yeah.
You
Wow.
know,
That's within 3 months.
yeah.
That's great. Wow.
Yeah. So I
Good.
mean, 'cause there was talk for a while there about, oh, he's going to lose his leg, and it's like, is he?
Because that's where everybody has to go. And I mean, that obviously is what we're going to be talking about
Yeah, yeah,
soon, but where everybody has to go. But yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad. This is one of those times where I'm glad a star is giving us so many updates for something that's very personal.
yeah,
Actually, I mean, this is good. It's good news, and everybody who loves him as Hawkeye and all of that stuff, that's very nice. I'm really happy for him too. I hope it can continue. And
yeah.
I got to get me one of those treadmills so I can only have 40% of my.
Yeah, can I get one of those just to walk around all the place with?
Oh
So,
no.
all right, let's talk about Zachary Levi.
Okay.
Mr. Levi appears to be having a meltdown. He has posted video after video, basically blaming everybody and everything for the failure of Shazam at the box office. And at this point, you do have to call it a failure. Yeah, the opening was bad, but they only did another 9 million today. And somebody was trying to compare it to Ant-Man, and I'm like, Ant-Man made 150 million its opening weekend.
Yeah.
So yeah, it had a big drop off between 1 and 2, but it made more in the second weekend than Shazam did in his first weekend.
Has this guy learned nothing at all from any other celebrity ever that you just don't do I mean, yeah, I guess he's kind of like out of a job, sure.
Yeah.
But it's like, all right, dude, move on and look at the next project. I mean, that's what I've been told when I get a bad review and I go on Facebook and kind of, whine a little bit about it. But wow.
Well, he posted so far saying that the Zack Snyder fans are happy that Shazam failed and blames the toxic community. He's gone on and said that The Rock, is talking about or backing up stories about how The Rock refused to let Superman appear in Shazam, and all this other stuff, that The Rock was ruining cameos and wouldn't be in the movie himself. He refused to cameo.
What? Wait. What would Dwayne Johnson have to do with whether or not Superman is somewhere?
I don't know.
Does that work again? I didn't realize that he and James Gunn were running the DC universe now. Jeez.
Yeah, and then he also, there was a video that he was coming on talking about, hey, I know you guys all want to go see John Wick. I want to see John Wick. But John Wick's not a family film, and Shazam's a family film. I'm like, oh, Jesus. Let it go. It didn't work.
Yeah. I mean, it no good can come of that whatsoever. I like I said, I can't believe he hasn't learned anything from anybody who's ever done anything like that, before, any other celebrity.
If you really want to come out and say something, come out and say, I'm disappointed.
Yeah, sure.
But I feel we made a good movie,
right?
And hopefully it'll find an audience in the in the aftermarket, in the digital. Say something like that.
Well, why not do a video where you say, kudos to all my co-stars, kudos to the production team, kudos to the costume department, and do something like that. But yeah, I mean, you could say, like you said, I'm a little disappointed, but you know what? Maybe this is just one of those movies that, someday kids will discover.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep, exactly. It just,
wow.
Yeah. Anyway, so
wow.
Yeah, and I at this point, I hope somebody just pulls them aside and go, enough, just stop. We're going to go into a third week. Everybody's talking about the Dungeons and Dragons movie and how good it's supposed to be. John Wick is already in the theater doing great. You're done. It's not going to happen.
I blame it on all of the kids in the movie aging out of their parts. That's what I blame it on.
Yep. But I don't know. I don't think Shazam is that popular of a character.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact the first one did well, partly it was because everything was going for the DC universe. It was growing. It was thriving.
That's right.
You know, and it's not now.
And you know what? No celebrity, anybody who's in any of those movies should ever mention Zack Snyder like that. You just give credence to it. You know what I mean? To that whole thing. Nobody on that level should be down in the trenches in that stupid war that's going on. You know, ugh.
I'm a little disappointed in Zack Snyder in that he's never come out and actually said, look, I did my movies. They were what I wanted them to be. It's time to move on. Someone else is coming in to do their versions. I'm moving on to these other projects. But no.
No, he's feeding the cult.
Yeah.
What?
Hey, Henry, good to see you.
What is it that isn't he like teasing or doing something stupid like that?
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is that he's teasing this, and everybody is going, "Oh my God, he's coming back!" Oh my! The big thing is that Netflix is buying the film. They're not. They're not buying the rights to do these things. What he's teasing is the Snyder Con, where you can go to a movie theater and see all three of his DC films back to back to back, including the 4-hour Justice League, which has never been in theater. If you love those films, great. That sounds awesome. I actually like the Snyder films. I enjoyed them. That actually sounds like a fun day to me to go and hang out and just watch all three of those back to back to back. Great.
Hey, listen, I'm done. I'm out of here. I can't. I can't have that kind of negativity in my life, Dan.
Yeah, it's just there's a certain amount of professionalism that isn't being.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Yeah. So, all right. We're going to get on to the big news, and as many of you know, Saturday night, Jonathan Majors was arrested. He was charged with, and I almost feel like I should pull up the report and get it exactly right.
Well, I was going to say, stick with exactly what we know for a certain, so that we do not devolve into other crap.
Okay, from the public information officer, they say a preliminary investigation determined that a 33-year-old male, Majors, was involved in a domestic dispute with a 30-year-old female. The victim informed police she was assaulted. Officers placed the 33-year-old male into custody without incident. The victim sustained minor injuries to her head and neck and was removed to an area hospital in stable condition. That's the report that came from the police.
And they do not say injuries unless those injuries are visible, right?
Right.
Okay.
Now, later on, this came out more recently. Jonathan Majors' lawyer came out and put out a statement and says Jonathan Majors is completely innocent and is provably the victim of an altercation with a woman he knows. We are quickly gathering and presenting evidence to the district attorney with the expectation that all charges will be dropped immediately. The evidence includes video footage from the vehicle where this episode took place, witness testimonies from the driver and others who both saw and heard the episode, and most importantly, 2 written statements from the woman recanting these allegations. All of this evidence proves that Mr. Majors is entirely innocent and did not assault her whatsoever. Unfortunately, this incident came about because the woman was having an emotional crisis for which she was taken to a hospital yesterday. The NYPD is required to make an arrest in these situations, and this is the only reason Mr. Majors was arrested. We expect these charges to be dropped soon. All right.
I have questions.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It sounded like you said he was the victim of an altercation.
Yeah, he basically, yeah, that's the way the lawyer, it sounds from the lawyer's point of view like maybe she attacked him.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
You know,
okay.
and if they do have video evidence of this, but before we go any further,
Mm-hmm.
I want to remind people we do not know exactly what happened.
Right.
This is not a time to speculate. This is simply the evidence gathering phase. If, if Majors has this, if she does recant, now I know a lot of people are iffy on domestic violence charges where the victim recants because there's a fear level, stuff like that. But if there's that, there's witnesses and video evidence. Well, we've seen recently what happens when there's a rush to judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp was accused of all this stuff, and in court he got his name cleared. But all of the stuff that people rushed to do, Disney firing him from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, stuff like that. I think what has to happen is we, as a society, have to sit back and don't pass judgment until the evidence is out there. And it's not our job to pass judgment, but I'm already hearing about two different people coming out making accusations about majors since then. Neither of them are saying that anything happened to them. Both of the people making these accusations are people that supposedly worked with him in the past and are saying that they know of someone who something happened to. Now, again, if that is the case, then this has to be dealt with. But again, we don't know. And rushing to judgment, I know there's all sides of this. There are people who immediately hear that a woman got abused and believe her and condemn the guy. And you should always it should be investigated. You shouldn't attack the victim in any way, shape, or form, but you do the investigation.
Right.
Find out what happens, and don't, like I said, don't pass judgment. Yeah. So, and these people who are coming out going, oh well, he did this and he did that. If you don't have evidence of that, and they're not even coming out and saying names, they're coming out and alleging things, and it's like, are they doing that because they really are concerned about someone, or are they doing it to get their 10 seconds of fame because suddenly now their comments are being retweeted? Suddenly everybody knows who their name keeps coming up.
It's following the usual courses. When I did my podcast earlier today with my local podcast partner, I said, the next thing that's going to happen is that other allegations are going to come out, and sure enough, because people love a dog pile, I guess. It's very sad that it's following these courses. That's kind of what I have to say about it. And you're right. I mean, investigation has to happen, but it's not our job to do the investigation. But we all have to be armchair lawyers and jury and judge and even executioner, for that matter. Now here do we know that he's ever had any he's never been arrested before for anything like this?
Nothing has come up.
Okay.
We're not seeing any, because
Yeah.
you know, Deadline or Variety or the Hollywood Reporter would look into that too, because
Yeah.
that's an angle,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
nobody has come. I have not seen anything.
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah. I mean, that was, kind of my thought. Like, is there, does he have a history of anything like this? And conversely, does she have a history,
Yeah.
of accusations that have been proven false, or
Right.
or whatever. Um, just just a sad story. And
Yeah.
and I saw a lot of people trying to compare it to the Ezra Miller thing, and it's like,
A
no,
little bit more. Yeah.
I mean, other than it's a star that's involved in superhero movies and that is having legal issues or criminal issues, whatever you want to say. But
Yeah. Now I know. Well, first thing, the interesting thing is that by the time this news broke last night, he had already been released.
mhm.
So I don't know what you can read into that, or if
On
you
his own
should.
recognizance.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think there's a lot going on here that we don't know and will come to light over time.
Yeah.
But
Do we know where the alleged video comes from?
supposedly it's a video from in the car.
Okay, but we don't know if that was the driver or one or other of the people involved in.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah. I
and
mean,
when you say driver, was it like a private chauffeur or a cab, or
again,
they
not that
didn't
hasn't
say?
come out yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah. But again, and I know there are a lot of people out there who are concerned about, there's a lot of people concerned about the victim or the unnamed 30-year-old female. But there are a lot of people out there who are going, what's the MCU going to do? This
Yeah,
guy is the
yeah,
backbone of the next two phases.
yeah.
This
That's
is what
putting
the
it
MCU,
mildly. Yeah.
yeah, this is what Marvel's going to do. They're going to wait.
Hmm.
They're probably not going to move forward on anything with him until they find out what's going on. But
Mhm.
nothing is immediately about to start filming that I know of. He's already done his part on Loki season 2. So I can't see, they haven't started filming in the Kang stuff yet. So
Mhm.
unless he's supposed to pop up in another movie, in which case, if he's found guilty, then they'll replace him.
Yeah.
Just like they replaced Don Cheadle or Terrence Howard with Don Cheadle.
Yeah. What do you know about, like, I'm assuming they have these days, they probably have to. There's probably like protocols, like Kevin Feige gets on the phone to whoever and they have, or they have a Zoom meeting or something, like that. I mean, these days, I assume that they have something in place that they go down a list and say, is it this? Is it this? Is it this? And then they say, okay, do we replace this person, or do we, or
Yeah.
do we just stand behind him? I don't know. I
Well,
mean,
I think Marvel's going to be cautious, having already dealt with the James Gunn situation, where they let him go and then came back later and went, okay, this was a very old thing that he had already apologized for,
yeah,
and they
yeah.
eventually hired him back.
And the Gina Carano situation,
Yeah,
right?
and they have the Victoria Alonso situation that just happened.
Oh, now I don't wait. I know she left. Oh,
I guess we have more to cover tonight.
okay. It's funny. All I was aware of is that she left, but there was no reason given. Okay,
Yeah.
what?
Okay.
Lay it on me. Wait, let me sit back. Lay it on me, Dan.
Okay, Victoria Alonso did not leave. She was fired.
Okay.
And the reason that Marvel is giving has to do with the movie called, I believe it's Argentina 1985. It is a movie that just won an Academy Award, and she was a producer on the film.
Okay.
The thing is that the film came from Amazon Studios, and it was specifically in her contract that she was not allowed to work with other studios.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
this came out a while back, and yeah, a few more of these will be yelling theater in a crowded fire. Okay. Um, so Disney found out about it, but because she had been with them so long, they said, okay, we're going to write this one into your contract that you could produce this one, but you're not allowed to go out and promote the movie, because basically that's taking like the Marvel Studios name
Yeah.
and attaching it to this film that has nothing to do with it. So they're like, you can't promote the film.
Well, wait, how far back was it done? When did she do this? When?
The movie just came out and won an Academy Award recently.
Okay, but when did she produce it?
This was probably a year or so back.
Did she think that nobody would know, or?
That one I got nothing on.
Okay.
Okay. But this is the story as it's being told by Disney,
Okay.
is that she then, when the movie came out, went out and did press junkets against the specific deal that,
What was
and
she thinking?
and they say that she's in breach of contract and was let go. Now,
okay,
he's coming out and saying that this is not the reason she was fired. That months ago, back when Florida started their "Don't Say Gay" bill, she came out at a GLAAD ceremony and called out Disney, and specifically Bob Chapek, who was the CEO at the time, calling out for Disney to take a stand against it. Alonzo is openly lesbian. So, and she's also been a big proponent of getting equality and more diversity into into the movies. She's also was pushing to give a different name to the X-Men, because she felt that X-Men was, it should be X people, or use X Factor or something like that. So that's her background. But her lawyer came out and said that it was wrongful termination, and that she was terminated because she refused to do something that she felt was inappropriate. I think they used a different word, but that's the gist of it. So she's saying that Disney is using this breach of contract thing as a cover to get rid of her for some other reason. That this was higher ups above.
And how did you enjoy the play, Mrs. Lincoln? I would have said, so you're not guilty of a breach of contract for producing a movie that you weren't supposed to while you were employed by Disney?
I had to explain to my ex-wife one time. I said, businesses have conduct policies and rules, not to get rid of people that are doing everything else right, but you did this wrong. It's to get rid of the people they don't like, so that they can go, well, this rule can get rid of them, because we can't fire you because we think you're an idiot, or because you haven't taken a bath in 6 months, or some reason. So they find something in their code of conduct where a good employee who is doing something wrong, they're probably going to overlook if everything else they're doing is right.
Yeah.
But it's still grounds for termination, and that's why they have those things, and that's
Okay. So, do you care to speculate on this one? No. What is it? What? Okay.
I don't want to speculate on it, because again, it's not fair, because we don't know the evidence. It's just like I wouldn't want to speculate on the Jonathan Majors.
The funny thing is I would say to both sides, like how do you how if either side is lying or whatever, like how do you feel like you're going to get away with that? I just
Yeah. And if you're going to be someone who butts heads with the higher ups, you got to be squeaky clean.
Yeah.
So I don't know what she was thinking now.
Also, who did she think she was working for
Yeah.
I mean, how many years has she been in this? Been
She started with Marvel with Iron Man 1, the first
okay.
Iron Man movie.
Did
She
she?
was
I
there.
mean,
And,
she had no idea how Disney was in
yeah.
terms of their policies towards
Right.
the gay community or whatever.
Yeah.
Wow. Or is it a case where she felt that she could change it from within?
It could be, but
Yeah.
also the fact that, if she's doing this movie, she could have went to Disney and went, look, this project really means a lot to me. Can we carve out a way for me to do this movie?
Yeah. Yes.
She didn't. She didn't approach them. She did it and wanted to ask forgiveness rather than permission. Disney gave her forgiveness, but said, don't promote it.
Yeah.
And then she continued. So I don't know. And again, the lawyer says that she's going to come out with a bunch of stuff that will show the evidence. But at the same time, this is the same lawyer who is representing another woman, and I cannot remember her name off the top of my head because I didn't think about this was going to be a topic tonight because I'd forgotten about it with everything else. It was like, but
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
I'm
She
interested.
was,
It's Marvel Studios, and I'm interested. And
yeah, another woman was let go from the Acolyte. She was a executive producer on the Acolyte.
I think I heard this one.
Yeah, but it's the same lawyer handling both the cases. So
okay, did she deny the charge about the producing the movie and promoting it?
No, she says that's not the reason she was fired.
That is not. Did she say that is not true? Okay.
No.
Okay.
So, and she can't deny it because if it was in her contract that she can't promote or work for another studio, and she did, and if they then put in her contract that it was okay for this one movie, but she wasn't allowed to promote it, and then she promoted it, and not like quietly, she went on air.
Right.
So I don't know how that's going to come out either. But again, Kevin Feige doesn't want any of this stuff.
No.
Now
it's all over. It was 15 years or so, and it was a good run, but it's all over now. All their stars are getting in trouble, and wow. Hey, I've always wondered about this. Is she related at all to Axel Alonso?
That I don't know.
I've always I thought, well, that's interesting. Two people, at Marvel, one in comic books and one in the movie side.
Well, I thought the same thing, and just never thought to look it up. For a while there, I thought they were married.
Well, I did too, but I'm betting that's not true now.
No. She's got a lovely wife. Yeah, she's got a lovely wife who's an actress.
Okay.
And a lot of people see, and then other people are coming out saying that she was the part of the problem having to do with the special effects things going on.
Because she was the head of the special effects department.
Well, she was the head of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Physical production, post-production, VFX, animation. It's like, I think she had too much going on to be able to do all the jobs well. I think they were asking too much of her.
Right.
But I don't know. It's
we have at the place that I work at, we have that same situation with somebody who's pretty high up and is doing way too many things. And then what happens is stuff starts to suffer. That's almost inevitable. Have they named her replacement?
No.
I haven't heard that. So, okay.
Which makes you think that this was more spur of the moment or more, because normally if you have a change like that, then you have the next person in line.
Especially somebody that high placed, right?
Yeah. And they don't. They haven't. It's been, she left the company more than a week ago now. And there hasn't been a replacement named. So, but from what I understand, there was one person between Bob Iger and Kevin Feige. There's one other person, and supposedly that's the person that did it. and that Kevin Feige was not involved in the decision.
Hmm.
He felt that he was in a between a rock and a hard place, basically, and just didn't. So again, I'm sure we'll find out more about this.
Okay.
But
well, Dan, do you have any more of them good news in your bag?
well, I think we could go to this, and this would be the
because I need it right now.
Yeah. I absolutely loved the latest episode of The Mandalorian, and story wise, there was. I mean, it was a climbing adventure. It was the sign that the Mandalorians picked the world's worst place to hold up. You know, it's like, oh, we got attacked by a giant alligator creature. Oh, we're getting attacked by giant birds repeatedly.
Or is it the best place for them to be because it's on the job training?
Best place to be if you want to get rid of foundlings.
Well,
but
maybe you've stumbled upon something there.
But let's be honest.
Okay.
It was a good story. It was fine.
Yes.
It was a fine episode.
Yes.
But what everybody is talking about is the flashback. We finally
Grogu's new armor.
And we finally see who saves Grogu. And wait, let me do the spoiler thing just in case.
You had one job. There you go.
So they had this scene. We see we see Jedis being killed. We see Grogu being and every once in a while I was like, well, why are they doing all this for one foundling? Well, I think that's because this particular species, who we don't know the name of or the planet of or any of that information, because George Lucas doesn't want that out, is so attuned to the Force that they're considered rare. And so this was a special foundling, but they were trying to get all the foundlings out.
Well, sure.
And we know that by the end of the scene. But, he gets put in the elevator, sent up, and is met by Kelleran Beck. And this is not a brand new character.
Star of his own TV series or YouTube series, pardon me.
He was the star of the YouTube Star Wars Kids channel, the series, the Star Wars The Jedi Temple Challenge, which put pairs of children through a Jedi training or a Jedi, what's the term? Basically to become Jedi Knights.
Academy?
I don't know. Well, not the academy, but they're the tests they take.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay.
So, and by the way, I have watched some of those now, and they're surprisingly fun because they put in a lot of stuff. They've got Frank Oz's voice as Yoda every once in a while. They have a dark side that tries to tempt the kids, and they got Sam Witwer to do that voice. And of course, he was Darth Maul on the animated stuff. He was the voice of Star Killer in the some Star Wars games. And he played Doomsday on Smallville.
Okay.
So Sam Witwer's voice in there. And of course, Ahmed Best is playing Kelleran Beck. And of course, you know the name Ahmed Best because he was the guy that did Jar Jar Binks.
Right.
There
is some justice in the
huge
world with all the other crap that goes on.
Yeah, I mean, I think this Ahmed Best basically was the first person to draw out the toxicity of the Star Wars fan base.
Other than Jake Lloyd, maybe.
Yeah, Jake Lloyd is the other, the two of them.
Yeah, but Ahmed was brought probably about as low as a person can go by toxic Star Wars fans.
They were sending him death threats. Yeah. Could you imagine somebody sending death threats to an actor playing a part that someone else wrote, that someone else directed? He was hired to play a part. He didn't decide what the part should be or how it was to affect. someone was going to play that part, and people were giving death threats to this guy, and
Yeah.
it got to the point where he was going to kill himself.
Yep.
And
Wow.
and the story is that he tells the story that he was actually went to a bridge in New York, was standing on the bridge, and this is a bridge he used to walk across all the time just to get his head clear and kind of reaffirm his life. And he had done, and then just got out there and decided it was time to kill himself.
Mm.
Got up on the ledge, and this big strong wind came by and just about pushed him over. And instinctively, he grabbed on and held. And when he did that, he's like, well, obviously, I'm not ready to go.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, that means that you want to live more than you don't want to.
Yeah. So he climbed down and went about his life, ended up having a child, has a son. And he said that about 20 years later, he took his young son and walked across that same bridge that he used to do. They went back to New York. He walked across the bridge and came to that spot and realized where he was and took a picture with his son and posted it about it being 20 years later and what had happened. And at that point, the Star Wars community went to the opposite end.
Mm.
And they embraced him and reached out to him and talked about their own, moments where they almost committed suicide and depression and stuff like that. And he was kind of brought back into the fold, which, again, that's great. He should never have been attacked like he was, but
that's putting it mildly.
Yeah. So he ended up going to a convention, getting a standing ovation from people. It started coming around, and of course, they gave him the part on the show.
Yeah.
He did appear in the second Star Wars movie as a cameo as himself. Well, not as himself, but with his face.
Yeah. And Tony Daniels did the same thing.
Yeah. And the character's name was Ahmed Beck.
Yeah.
So when he went to do the TV show, he told him, well, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it in character. I don't want to do it as Ahmed Best because I want the whole illusion. And they went for it, and they let him kind of create his own backstory. Mm-hmm. And he created this Jedi who's related to his character, Ahmed Beck, Kelleran Beck, and that he is the first Jedi to ever specialize in teaching of younglings, or teaching of Padawans and stuff. Mm-hmm. And that, it's why he had some special markings on his robe.
Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the only other person we've ever seen with those kind of markings is Jocasta Nu, the librarian.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he got to put in this backstory, and then when they brought him in, the only thing they changed between his character on the show and what it is the lightsaber he was carrying. Because in the show, they gave him a purple lightsaber. And they didn't want it to be confused as, oh, it's supposed to be Mace Windu.
Yeah, another bald black guy with a purple lightsaber. Yeah.
Oh, maybe they're using this guy because Samuel L. Jackson couldn't come back.
Well, is the hilt the same?
No.
Okay, different hilt.
Yeah. So instead, they gave him the blue one, and then he picks up a green one off of the Fallen Jedi.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they use those two colors because in Beck's history, the two Jedis that most influenced him were Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi, blue and green lightsabers. So he gets that moment of saving, but there's an extra little bit, and you have to kind of read into it. But he has the chase through Coruscant. He goes by the monument that we saw in another episode.
Yep.
But when he gets over to the ship, that ship is a Naboo senator ship.
Yep.
And those are Naboo Senate security, which means that they're assigned to a Naboo senator.
Yep.
Now, there's only two Naboo senators.
Yep.
And we know exactly what one of them's doing.
Yes, we do.
Padme is a little distracted, didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
Didn't know that she should send her ship over to help or that anything happened to the kids. which means that ship was more than likely sent by Jar Jar Binks.
Okay, question. Do you think there was ever even 1 second of thought of putting Jar Jar in there, and that Ahmed is playing 2 characters at the same time?
No.
Okay.
The reason I don't think so is
because it would have taken from that scene.
I think it would have taken from the scene. I mean, they could have had him at the very end on the ship.
I mean, just literally, like, he's standing there and he goes,
Yeah.
go, yeah, and that's it. I mean, something simple like that.
But how do you ask Ahmed Best to play that role again?
Yeah.
And you don't want someone else to play it.
No.
So I think when it comes down to it, you kind of have to accept that this was the best approach, and that we're probably never going to see Jar Jar again.
Yeah.
Now, maybe after this, after the reception he's getting, after all these people coming, because there's been a few idiots online who have come out going, really? This is the best Jedi you could come up with all these this guy? Because they don't know.
Yeah, that's yelling theater in a crowded fire.
Yeah. So,
wow.
But and those people are being put in their place.
Good.
There are so many fans responding to them going, "Are you an idiot?
Good.
Do you even know what you're talking about?" So yeah, I think it's great. I think I love having Ahmed Best get his heroic moment and get to do it without the makeup and stuff. And and I thought it was a great scene.
Do we know? Do we get to? Do we see him again? Has he said anything, like that?
No, and I don't think he would if he's going to come back or anything.
Do you feel that those flashbacks are done, or there's still more after that? I mean, they get away together. They're in the ship together. I mean, is there more of a story there, or do you think that's the last of Grogu's flashbacks to that?
I don't know, because there is a story to tell of how he ends up on that distant planet being protected by those mercenaries.
Yeah.
How does he get there, and what happens to Kelleran Beck? Where is he?
Well, that's what I mean, we know Grogu will be okay. Yeah, I'm more interested to know if Beck is still out there. My thought is that he is still out there, and that at some point he's reunited with Grogu to get to see that he's okay.
Yeah.
That he's in a good place, and that he's okay. I'm all for it.
I was somebody who didn't want to see Luke Skywalker at the end of the second season. Not because I didn't want to see Luke Skywalker. I loved that scene. I thought they did an amazing job with it.
Yeah.
But story-wise, I was trying to figure out, well, you can't have Luke Skywalker around all the time.
Right.
And you don't want Grogu and Din separated.
Right.
So the only way to make that make sense if Din and Grogu start traveling with a Jedi. So that he could still train him. Or maybe somebody who hadn't finished his, kind of in the same way in Rebels, Kanan Jarrus trained Ezra Bridger,
Yeah.
But, and then still had the crew around him. So I thought that was, so by using this character, Kelleran Beck, he could come back.
Well, you've put me on this track of thinking, wouldn't that be interesting if he starts to travel? But see, did Grogu decide not to keep up with his Jedi training just so he could be with Din, or did he just really not want to go down the path of the Jedi, regardless of whether he and Din were? See, that's the kind of the question there. Like, if he's given the opportunity to train as a Jedi but remain with Din, does he do it, or does he follow the path of the Mandalore?
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you have parents with separate religions.
Yeah. Here's my big question.
Okay.
The they have accepted Grogu as an official Mandalorian foundling. You know, the armor and all of them. He seems to be accepted. He's getting he's getting new armor, more armor, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean that there are other non-human Mandalorians that were foundlings and taken in? If everybody took off their helmet, would we see any aliens? I'm really curious about that now. If Grogu was accepted, I mean, I can't believe he's the only non-human foundling ever taken in by, Mandalorians.
I don't know. That's a good question.
I mean, there's nothing, we've never heard that there's anything against that, I mean, obviously there isn't because they took him in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a good question.
I'd love to see that, happen. If we get to the point where Din or whoever else takes over and then declares that, no, you don't have to keep your helmet on all the time. It'd be really interesting if they had a scene where a bunch of them all take off their helmets and then you see, one or two, aliens in there.
But because it hasn't come up, you have to wonder if there's not more to this, and this will be the wild speculation. Not as we wrap this up, if maybe that's never come up before because it's never been thought of. No one thought about bringing it in, and maybe it's because the armorer said it was okay, because she's kind of the religious leader for that group,
right?
And maybe she says it's okay because maybe there's nothing that says it can't be.
Yeah.
But because she thinks having someone with force abilities in the covert would be a good thing. Because there has been a Mandalorian Jedi before.
Right. So, I mean, I think it would be a pretty kind of an ugly thing to have it be that the Mandalorians are, well, racist, I guess, that they can't take in anybody, but human beings. Hey, by the way, before I forget, before we're done here, I am actually just starting to buy into your theory about the armorer. Because one of the things is that we have not been given a name. We're getting more and more names of these people, and what's funny is that she's not. I don't think she's ever been called the armorer in dialogue or anything. It's always outside stuff that or the credits that she's called that. But yeah, it's like that's weird that we don't have her name. So I'm starting to really buy into your theory that she is somebody that has been seen, before. So we'll see.
Plus, I find it interesting that because of the way she's suddenly accepting of Bo-Katan,
yes,
that's part of what makes me think it.
Yeah, and Bo-Katan is from moment to moment is making me question what the hell's going on with her, and I love that. I can't predict where it's going. One minute it's like, oh, she's really starting to understand and buy into this whole society, and then the next moment it's like, no, she's playing them all, and then no, it goes back. It keeps going back. I don't know what the hell's going on with her.
And now the real big question that comes out of this episode.
Okay.
Ragnar, the little Mandalorian that got taken by the bird, is Paz Vizsla's son.
Yeah.
Not a foundling, his son. Now, it might be his son in the way that Grogu is Din's son, but he's actually his son, and it does seem like he's physically his son.
Uh-oh, I think I see where this is going.
Who's the mother, and do they have to leave the helmets on?
All right, folks, we're out of here. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. And next week, I will have a new co-host. Paul Story is coming back, and together... Nice. Okay.
I think I've just been fired from my own show.
Yeah. We will you know what? We will never find that out ever. That's got to be just fan speculation and nothing else. We will never ever find that out.
Someone's going to ask Favreau and Filoni at some point.
Yeah. Well, they can't keep taking foundlings in, right? I mean, they'd
Yeah.
have to have an actual hunt for foundlings at that
And
point.
there's bound to be an adult film called
Yes.
This Is the Way.
Yes. Yeah. This is the way with pictures.
This is the way, or leave your helmet on.
Yes, I'm assuming they have to leave their helmets on, Dan. If you must know.
Is that the Joe Cocker rule?
There's nowhere else to go. Just cut it. End it.
Thanks, guys. We'll be back next week. Have a good one. I'll be